Hey everybody, it's Benny1 and I'm back at you with another review series, everybody. And I'm going to review Moon Knight, everybody. That's right, I finished it last week. I'm finally getting around to doing the review for the whole series because I stopped reviewing each episode a while ago before Christmas and all that stuff, and I took my break. So I only review the series now. And this is a Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe series, everyone, and I think it's a very solid and great addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I love the Moon Knight character. Probably like 10-ish, maybe 12-ish years ago, I was reading the late 2000s run of the Moon Knight comics that this show actually is borrowing a lot from the comics, and then it also borrows the revival Moon Knight comics from 2014 when they introduced Stephen Grant, aka Mr. Knight, the British alter ego version of Moon Knight. They introduced that version of him with the suit and the different mask and everything. That's when he got introduced. And I read that line of comics for a while too. So I was very excited about the show in general. I like the casting of Oscar Isaac. So I was excited about this show just because they were doing this character. I love that Marvel is starting to kind of really go outside of their comfort zone, and they're doing different things with their comic book characters, and they're introducing us to these type of characters that are really cool that a lot of people don't know jack shit about, probably because they're not Iron Man, they're not Captain America, they're not Thor, they're not your big main Marvel characters. So I think it's cool that they're giving attention to these other side characters, because Moon Knight is cool. It's like you're talking about freaking ancient Egyptian lore and everything with a comic book character. So I just think it's really fascinating and intriguing type stuff because I'm into history and all that stuff. So this really appeals to me, and I was very satisfied with how they did the show. So it was a 6-episode story arc on Disney Plus, of course. And it is connected to the MCU, even though the show really doesn't have anything in it that literally ties it into the MCU. He does obviously exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They just aren't directly connecting him to everything yet, which I hope to God they do. My word. Oscar Isaac was cast as Mark Spector, who is the original version of this character that became Moon Knight and took the pledge to work and help Khonshu because he was dying. He was the original person that did that. He's a mercenary and everything. And then he also plays Stephen Grant, Moon Knight, obviously, Mr. Knight, which is Stephen Grant's version of Moon Knight. And then we also get introduced to a third person inside of his head, Jake Lockley, everyone, and he is the most brutal version that we really don't know a whole lot about yet because of the way the show ended. We just got a little bit of him towards the end of the show, and in season 2 they're probably really going to dive into that version of him, because here's the thing: Mark Spector has these other versions of himself because of some traumatic shit that happened to him as a child, which they really dive into. And I think that is so cool that they really delved into his childhood trauma and why he created Steven to protect him from his fears of his mother. He had a really screwed up childhood and upbringing, and they really dive into that in the latter half of this show, because when you first get introduced to this character, this is not your typical origin story for a new Marvel character. They literally slap you in this probably the end of the second act, maybe beginning of the third act of what his origin story probably would have been, and they do They help you figure it out through different flashback scenes and kind of explain little things here and there, and they catch you up eventually. Very creative storytelling and very, very cool storytelling in introducing a new comic book character. And I thought it fit very well with this character with these different split personalities, because he has the split personality disorder, like, completely. He is fucked up in the head, like he is. Mark Spector is super messed up. He knows that Khonshu, who is played by what's his name? F. Murray Abram. He is the moon god in ancient Egyptian lore. And that's where Moon Knight gets the powers and everything from Khonshu. And Khonshu's basically using and abusing Mark, even though Mark was about to die, and that's why he pretty much basically agreed to help Khonshu and become his object of vengeance and everything, and to punish the villainous and horrible people and everything. Because this character pushes the line between being a good superhero and a superhero that does shit that you should not be doing. Like, he really pushes that line, and he crosses the line sometimes. He's very violent. If this was a live action movie, I suspect if it wasn't on Disney Plus, it should be rated R in my opinion, because reading the comic books and stuff, he's very violent. He's beats the living hell out of people to where they're bleeding a lot, and yeah, it's very violent. But because it was on Disney Plus, they couldn't go that far. But I think they did a good job showing like how violent of a character he is, and how screwed up in the head he is, and how he really struggles with who he is as a person, as a hero, and everything. Because the whole reason that he basically is continuing to be Moon Knight, Mark Spector, is because of Layla, played by May Calloway. She is the love interest that has a connection to Mark. When the show first starts, though, he's literally just Steven, though. This British guy who is really confused, thinks that he has this sleepwalking disorder, and he like chains himself to a bed and everything. And then he wakes up after not knowing what happened and all this shit, and there's sand in his room and everything. So he just thinks he has this sleepwalking disorder, and he's super confused. And they show the interactions between Mark and Steven and everything throughout the whole show, and it's just so entertaining to watch it all unfold and watch him, Steven and Mark, build this relationship, because they hate each other at first. Like, they freaking hate each other at first, and they eventually learn to kind of like work together. And it's really funny when Steven, for the first time, turns into his Moon Knight, and you get the Mr. Knight, the suit and everything. It's just funny. And when they learn to work together in the last like episode, I'm pretty sure it's just the last episode, it might happen in the fifth one too, but when they learn to work together and they just switch in and out, and the suit changes and everything, and they're working together, is very cool shit. Like, I thought they did a great job with it. And Oscar Isaac, I think this is my favorite performance that I've ever seen him in. I haven't seen all the movies that the guy has been in, but I think this is my favorite performance of his, because he literally plays 3 different characters in this movie, basically. We only really get to see one of them very, very late in the show, and it's not very much, but he literally plays 3 different characters. I mean, technically 4 if you count the Moon Knight part where he's in the suit and everything, and I just think he really emulated these different versions and everything, and I thought it showed off his acting chops like very, very well. And our big bad villain, can't forget to talk about him, Ethan Hawke. Man, I gotta tell you, this guy, I just watched a trailer with this guy called The Black Phone, and man, he looks like he's gonna be a kidnapping serial killer murderer person of kids in that movie. And in this show, he kind of has a little bit of that going on with him. He's very quiet. He's a very calm person. He has his staff and everything, and he used to be Moon Knight. So that right there alone connects him with Khonshu and Mark Spector, because he was Moon Knight before Mark Spector got approached by Khonshu to become Moon Knight. So right there, you have a very strong binding connection with our hero and our villain of the show. And when Ethan Hawke's character Arthur Harrow starts to come out of that quiet shell, and when he's doing his powers with the staff and everything and using it, and then he snaps and becomes villainous, Ethan Hawke does a fantastic job with that shit. He really does. It was a great performance from him. I haven't seen him in anything in a really, really long time, and I thought he did a fantastic job playing this character. So I just thought the show was really good. Like, I thought the storytelling was very creative. I will say that the last episode, we do get that big Marvel cinematic action, CGI type stuff. And they do kind of rush certain story elements, like with Layla and everything, and where she ends up at the end of the show, because she has a Greek, or not a Greek, but an ancient Egyptian god give her powers in a suit too, just to help out at the very end. And I felt like that kind of stuff was really rushed a little bit. But a lot of these Marvel shows kind of suffer from that, because they're only like 6 to 8 episodes long, because then they can have the budget to make these things look like the movies, which this show looks fantastic. The costumes were great. The Moon Knight's suit, the mummy wrap suit with the cape and the hood and everything, looked freaking awesome. Looked very comic book accurate. The Mr. Knight suit, awesome. Comic book accurate, everything. And the special effects looked really good. The CGI looked really good in the show. So just overall, I think this is one of the better Marvel Disney Plus shows that they have put out. I still need to watch Hawkeye. I have not watched that one yet. I need to do that. It's been out for a while, so shame on me. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the shit out of Moon Knight. I thought it was very good. So I'm going to give the first season of Moon Knight a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And they put a character that I've enjoyed since like 2010 or 11, like in the comic books. Awesome first appearance of Moon Knight in live action form in the MCU, everybody. So a 9 out of 10 for Moon Knight. I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Thank you for watching, and be catching you on the tube laters, because I have spoken.